born in Lagos, schooled in Lagos. I'm from Lagos State. I'm a Lagosian. My primary school was in Obalinde and Tayo Preparatory School. From there, I went to secondary school in Holy Child College, also in Obalinde. My life in Holy Child College was a very formative year because I was in a Catholic school with discipline. The discipline during those formative years continued thereafter. From Holy Child College, I went to my university of Ife, graduated BSc Social Sciences, Economics, and that period also was instructive because it was a period where, unlike schooling now, you had flexibility, but our own period was a period of you must pass all your subjects, otherwise you don't move to another class. It was a period of fail one, repeat all. That's what it was called at that time. So again, the value system in terms of emphasis on education was very strong at that time. From the university, I did my NYSC. I did my NYSC in Lagos and in 2 locations. First in a secondary school. That secondary school, the discipline and the seriousness instilled in me is still applicable till today. It was in a boys' secondary school, Methodist Boys High School, on Broad Street. At that time, the school is no longer present there. And I was teaching the senior class. The senior class being what you call HSC and final class. When you are teaching at that level, you are teaching senior boys, and here is a skinny young lady teaching senior boys. What it did was to instill the, what should I call it, ability to hold my head up against all odds, because boys will always be boys. They will make fun of you, jest at you, and you have to still instill that seriousness in them at that stage. But there was another hidden gem during that period, which was the school also had adult education, which no longer exists today. So you see, in daytime, I have young people who, well, some take school as serious, but most don't take it as serious. They just take it as a right. And in the evening, because most of us, we have to participate in the adult education, you see people who are working or who still want to have their GCE and pass so that they can go into higher education. And these are older people, some 30, 40, 50. So daytime you are teaching people who are far under 20, and nighttime you are teaching people who are far above, in the range of 40, 50. Those are were very serious with their work, and they took going to school not as a right but a privilege that they must not miss. Again, that taught me that life is not always easy. There's the rosy one, daytime. There's the evening one, where these are people who are really struggling to make a difference. That's my youth corps period. Made me discover my hidden talent in trying to be a resource person, training people, mentoring people, and getting people to realize that life is a lifelong journey of continuous education. From this NYSC period, I then started my working career. During the NYSC, I started working in a bank, Nigerian Acceptances Limited. I was thrown straight into what is now called investment banking, and my boss then was at the Peter side and some other people. Straight away, I started learning the rudimentary of investment banking, or what people sometimes call merchant banking. So I spent about 6 months with them, after which NYSC was over. I was to start my job with them, but they did not finish their process on time, and another merchant bank, then called Chase Merchant Bank. I went to work for them. I worked for them for 4 years. You see, life is all about opportunities, and being there when there are opportunities, and you being in a position to make use of that opportunity.
I would say that FUNKE Oshibodu has made a significant impact on the banking sector in her over 36 or 37 years, of professional life. In our days in Citibank in the late 80s and early 90s, she was in fact the most senior female leader in Citi for very many years. Mrs. Oshibodu nurtured very many bankers and empowered them for success, including myself. But it wasn't just that alone. She actually role modeled and walked the talk in knowledge, in innovation, in thought leadership, and in the 90s, early 90s in particular, in banking in Nigeria, several of what we see today, such as NABs, FMDA, and so on and so forth, were actually ideated by her. The technical aspects, securities trading, for example, was today we're talking repos, buying and selling treasury bills. These were products that started off from scratch. On FUNKE Oshibodu's table in Citibank.
In case, when my boss had to go back to school, my boss then was Mr. Chikiobi. He left, and because I had exposure under him and I was able to hold my own, what he then did at that time was to say, Madam, okay, continue, but now be supervised by the head of corporate banking. At that time was Tola Mobolo, another guru in the financial world. Opportunity always comes, but they come with big shoes. The shoes may be very big for your small feet, but if you do your best to rise up to it, people will give you an opportunity. And I believe that period in Chase created the base for me to realize I can move and move fast if I'm serious. It's also during that time I met my husband, then not my husband then of course, and subsequently we got married, but he also assisted in propelling me by making sure that I was serious with my work. I had a boss that told me at that time that, look, get paid in 2 currencies, experience or cash. You can decide to take the experience or cash, but note one thing, you cannot use cash to buy experience, but you can cash in on experience. So always go for experience. As you already know, I worked in quite a number of banks, and I was CEO in about 3 institutions, but it took me a while to realize what my real calling was, because in life, your calling is somewhere there, but you may not realize it. I just realized after a couple of jobs that my job was, in quote, a turnaround manager.
She's been CEO of 3 banks. She was CEO of Merchant Banking Corporation, MBC, which was a Paribas affiliate. She was CEO also of EcoBank Nigeria, a Pan-African, one of the leading Pan-African banks, and also of Union Bank, a large African Nigerian bank with branches in Africa and across the world. And I think this was as a result of her leadership through the years and her tenacity.
There's an aspect that I always call myself a banker first, because I've spent maybe 35 years in banking. But I left banking, I walked into another turnaround management job, which is electricity distribution, which is what I'm still battling with right now. I'm the chief executive of EBC Electricity, running distribution in 4 states.
Mrs. FUNKE Oshibodu is an exemplary leader. She's a role model, and she's one of the torchbearers in the electricity industry. Even from her days in banking, she has always been, a flag bearer of the sector. She has made a lot of impact since she assumed headship of BDC Electricity PLC in November 2013, and the impact is measured in terms of the numerous initiatives and interventions which were meant to support BEDC's core mandate as a distribution company, which is providing electricity in a safe and reliable manner to customers.
When you say, how do I think that can influence younger generation, especially women? I think first is the discipline that this different aspects of the things that will come your way brings to you. I do not believe that things happen by chance, but if you do not take the opportunity when they happen, because in everything we can always see the good side and the bad side. I always see the good side, and in seeing the good side of everything means that you keep yourself motivated even when it is tough. I may have spoken some story about growing through the system, but it was tough. You get married as a woman, and you have children. So at that point, you truly have to manage career, which is work. You have to manage family, your home, and still find time for yourself. When you are in such position, for younger generation, what I will tell you is that as long as you have a positive attitude to everything and see the opportunity that it brings your way, you draw what I would call positive energy. Positive energy gives you spirit, gives you strength. As you start your life, even as a young girl, it was important that that discipline that is being instituted in you as a young person, appreciate it. It will come in handy one day. It is about your value system.
A lot of who I am has been shaped by her and her raising me. Impact has been on values and the value system I have. A lot of that has been driven from her. Integrity, hard work, standing up to what you believe in. She's very, very big on that. And you can see through her career.
I continue to tell people, you get paid in two currencies, experience or cash. Always choose experience. And experience in life means that life has its own teachings. There will be the good ones, there will be the bad ones. But I can tell you, even the bad ones have good teachings in there if you care to find it. Life as a woman or a girl child is not easy because there are more expectations of you. And most of the time, those expectations, the expectations that people don't quantify financially. So people think you don't work. For me, breaking the glass ceiling requires you to be able to look at the four facets of life and say, I want to excel in all. Your career, your family life, your community life, your friends, and most importantly, the ability to understand that life, everything put together, is put together by being beyond you, God. Understanding that your religious life matters as well. One of the things I tell people is that do your best to do your boss's work for him or her free of charge. In other words, get him to cross his leg and you do all the things that he's supposed to do. What it does to you is you get the experience of your boss. It's difficult. We all are very money conscious, but I can tell you money will always come if you are valuable. In banking, I broke a lot of that. I broke a lot of glass ceiling. I think I'm the only female, and maybe probably the only banker that has been its chief executive of NBC, Merchant Banking Corporation, chief executive of Eco Bank, chief executive of Union Bank, 3 chief executives during the time. It was 3 different institutions, and Union Bank was one of the oldest banks, second oldest. So to be able to run those 3 institutions at different times and excel or live without blemish meant that we were able to break those ceilings. And in doing those ones, it wasn't an easy job because I still had a home to run.
You see that strong maternal figure who's constantly working to achieve her own goals, and you can see the effect and the results of that through the accolades she's received, through the effect she's had on different institutions.
If we look at her pivot into the power sector, again, the first female CEO of a power distribution company, and even in that industry, she's been vocal. She's very well respected, and she's also led some policy advocacy initiatives in that sector. There's nowhere that FUNKE would work that she would not, or any sector where she participates, where she would not make an impact.
Some of the impacts she has wielded are: 1, ensuring that there's power availability to the customers through the load management schedule which she put in place. With the impact she has made, an average customer in BDC's franchise of Delta, Edo, Ondo, and Ekiti State can predict when he or she will be in or out of power.
So, in terms of what she's done for the banking sector, what she's doing now, also in the power sector, I would say that, a result of focus and purposefulness in the endeavors that she embarks upon.
So breaking the glass ceiling, make your mark. When I now had to transit from a banking to a job that is completely unrelated to banking, was also breaking the glass ceiling. I'm the first female CEO in a electricity distribution company. Now I have other colleagues because other discos or distribution companies now, so if she can make it, we can afford to trust ladies there. And also other ladies, if she can make it, I can work in this environment. So it's also happened in banking. It drew quite a lot of young women, ladies that say, okay, she's there, she's doing well, and let's join. Let's also join. I wasn't the only female, but I was the only professional female at the early stage of this. So to break the ceiling, be ready to give it what it takes. You will go through a rough time, often, both you as a woman and as a man, but maybe tougher for a woman. But our DNA is already a tough one, because from day one, we've been taught how to multitask and handle so many challenges in life. One major thing I do till today, and that started from my banking days, and I believe that was in Merchant Banking Corporation. I started a training school for the people I employ. We teach them what it takes to be successful. It's not about what you learned in school. It's about your attitude to work and your attitude to life.
She sets the path through which I believed I could follow. And you see that. And you see that through her own personal mentoring efforts. And you see that through how people speak about her. She's created that ethic that as a woman, despite what society throws at you, and it is difficult, you can still push through. And I believe, first of all, serving as a role model, she can impact, and she has impacted positively a lot of women's lives out there.